So I've decided that I don't like the colors of the ribbing, and so rather than rip back my entire sweater, I'm just going to remove the ribbing and knit down. But because it's tough to rip out going in the opposite direction, I'm actually snipping each of the stitches. So I use the pink stitches in the corrugated rib and the purl bumps, and I just snip those so it's a good visual so that I know that I'm not snipping into any of the knitting that I want to keep. But you can see I'm just picking up one side of the knit stitch with the tips of my scissors, and then very carefully going into that purl bump here on the ribbing. And then once I've snipped a few of those stitches, I can use the tip of my needle or my fingers to pull out those stitches and then carefully pick up those stitches as I go. And every so often, I'll have to pull a little extra thread through. If you use a smaller size needle to pick up the stitches than what you were actually knitting with, it's a little bit easier job. But you can see that because this wool is a little grabby, that I'm not losing my stitches. They're not really running anywhere. And I can just one by one pick up those stitches. And then once I've picked these up and I get to the end of where I've snipped, I repeat the process all over again. What you do need to keep in mind is that when you're doing this, you'll be short about a half a stitch. So I'll need to make sure that I count all of my stitches when I get all the way back around to the beginning and make sure that I have the appropriate number of stitches. I may need to make a stitch in here, but that shouldn't show up when I'm knitting the ribbing down. And then I'll just re-knit this ribbing in colors that match the yoke of my sweater, and where the pattern would have said to pick up that provisional cast on that I did at the original cast on of the sweater, I'll just be able to continue working from there and bind off with the applied I-cord bind off.